What's up, gamers? How you doing? In this video, I'll be reviewing the Polymega attachment. This is the NES attachment in this video. I did a video not too long ago, a review over the Polymega base unit, which will out of the box will play Sega CD games, Neo Geo CD games, PlayStation 1, and TurboGrafx 16 games. It will also play Saturn games. So it does play a handful of CD type games out of the box, which is great. It does come with a controller, which is, I would explain, as like a PlayStation 2 type controller, and a dongle for wireless Bluetooth, which is nice. Has two USB units up front, so you can hook up and play other games like the 8-bit do controllers, etc. This attachment, how it works is there's a button on the side, you slide it off, hit it, and you slide it off, and this is the NES attachment separately when it's not playing. Without the base unit, this thing will not play, obviously. It's worthless, right? It will play NES games, both PAL and North American games. There, you would need an adapter to play Famicom games because the Famicom cartridges are different. It doesn't play without an adapter, but it will read it if you have an adapter. It will not play any flash cards. So, for example, if you have a flash card with a bunch of ROMs on it, it will not read that, right? So essentially what this does, and in case you didn't watch my previous review over the Polymega base console, it will dump the ROM onto the unit itself. There's 32 gigs of internal memory. There is a micro SD card slot on the side here. You can do external memory as well. Now, fortunately, NES games don't take too much space, so that's more than enough space. But I did notice that if you have any CD games, those do take up quite a bit of space. So, one nice thing about this console is you can catalog your games that you have, which I'll show you a closer look at the menu here in a second as an overview. That's one thing, positive thing about this. I know it comes as sticker shock to many. This thing is not cheap, right? The base unit itself was $550 US. It did come with the controller, of course, as I mentioned before, and all the attachments. Now, to play additional attachments is $80 US on top of that, right? So for what I'm reviewing here, it cost me $630 US to purchase, invest into what I'm showing you here. They do have other bundles available. They have other attachments. Other attachments include Super Nintendo one, they have a Sega Genesis one, and a TurboGrafx 16 one, as well as an N64 version as well, which is currently sold out on their website. Outside of the website, I'm not sure where to pick this unit up. I got it at polymega.com. I'm not quite sure. They don't have it on Amazon. There's no other like Best Buy or anything like that that's available at. So without any further ado, let's dive into a closer look at how this thing works, how it dumps the games. It is emulation. It is not FPGA, which is FPGA is really considered the prime way to play emulation, right? Where this will play games. I didn't have any issues with any of my games not working, for example. There are some really cool benefits to this thing as well. So let's take a closer look at this. Let's dive right into it. Let me know what you guys think, and let's take a closer look. Here's the menu layout, and as I mentioned before earlier in the video, I really like the layout. It shows you different platforms, shows you what games you played previously. You can search by genre, player, year came out, rating, if the game was installed or not. It does come with about 6 or 7 pre-installed games, or all homebrew games. Some of them are decent, some of them are not, to be honest. And it shows you information history about the game too. Little synopsis and bio of the game. It shows you when it came out and screenshots. So, like as I mentioned, it's a really cool way to categorize and catalog your games that you have, and it does dump the ROM of your game into the unit, and you can save it there. Some of the CD games do take up quite a bit of space, but fortunately there's a micro SD card slot in the back. You can add more space. Games will read for the most part. I had some issues with some of my NES games reading. I had Turtles 3, for example, and it took me a while to get the cart to read, but eventually it did work. Here's what I was talking about, kind of different games. American Gladiator shows you the history, if it was installed, who developed it, game tech in that term. So if you want to kind of see what games are out there, it also shows you games that are similar in genre that you play that you might like. So it's a really cool category system. Now, once you go to the games, there is a cheat mode. There's a built-in Game Genie. There's a Pro Action Replay code. I don't know what really that is, to be honest. But Game Genie, I've tested it with some games, and it worked. I didn't have any issues with it. I used it for Turtles 3, for example, with unlimited lives, and it worked. You can go on to Google. You can search Game Genie codes, and there's a bunch of them. I'm still kind of blown away by the technology of Game Genie and how it works, but it did work, and that's really cool that that's built in. Let's go ahead and start game. You do classic mode, which basically eliminates the way to save states and things like that. Here's Hudson Adventure Island. Really classic game. I remember playing this as a kid, and there's no save option, so I would just keep it paused for hours. We're being like on the last level and home from school, and the game like froze on me. I was super upset. But this is what it looks like when it's standard. It looks pretty good. It's playing in 1080p. This game, by the way, is super challenging, but a lot of fun, no doubt. The music's so iconic in Adventure Island as well. Now, if you go to the options here, you can see controller screenshot. You can change your visibility display. Left, right, go change the aspect ratio. You can do it thin. You can widescreen it if you want to make a full screen like this, which seems a little bit stretched. I like to keep it kind of standard 4:3 because that's kind of how it was for the classic consoles. And you can also hit up, down, and it will show you the visual display too. So you can go kind of make a warp like I'm playing on a CRT monitor. It shows you scan lines. Some of them are really blurry. There's a Game Boy one, a Virtual Boy one. Here's a Virtual Boy one playing. Not quite sure why you want the game to look like Virtual Boy. Now going back to the menu, hit the menu button on your controller to exit the game. You can save the states as well if you're not playing in classic mode. And if you decide to save the game, you no longer have to use the cartridge. Like if you want to dump the ROM onto the unit, no longer to use the cartridge, which is cool. It saves that game. Here's Metroid, of course. You can show in collection. Go back home. It read right away. Most of my games read right away. If it's an older game, sometimes you have to blow on it. I know you're not supposed to, but it seems to always help. And it shows you my collection. See, it shows you that I've played it when I played it. It shows you how much memory it's taken up. Very small. You can start a new game. Oh, another classic game by Nintendo. Love the sound effect. Love the music in this. Another very challenging game, nonetheless. I don't think I've ever beat Metroid, to be honest with you. I should probably go back and try to play it, but I've gotten pretty far into it. And I remember when I found out that Samus was a girl, I thought it was really cool. Honestly, it was really cool. I didn't find out until a little later. But cool to have a female protagonist, strong one for sure. We'll continue here. Gotta watch his, gotta get some energy there. Go back to this. Okay, I want to show you how the screenshots. You can take screenshots of the game, and I guess you could upload them on social media if you want to save it externally, I suppose. It is connected to the internet, but you can't get on, search or anything like that. You can change the screen resolution too. So it's 1080. You can go up to 720 or up to 1080 and down to 720 if you want. It does play homebrew games. This is Battle Kid Fortress of Peril. There's two of them. This one came out years ago, but it's one of my favorite ones. And unfortunately, with the homebrew games, it doesn't recognize it in the catalog, so you can't dump the ROM and save it, unlike a normal licensed game, which is kind of disappointing, just FYI. But this one game reminds me a lot of Mega Man, and Savick, who developed this game or programmed it. Amazing soundtrack. This game is freakishly hard. There's a safe spot. But definitely remind me of games, class of old, and we had CollectorVision games, really premise City Hunter based on this game a lot. So now I'm going to share with my conclusion. Thanks for watching. Okay, so in conclusion, what do I think about the Polymega NES attachment? I think it's decent overall. I think it is pretty pricey. The attachment itself, $80 US, not too bad. The controller that it comes with, one thing I didn't mention earlier in the video, it is about the standard NES size controller. The buttons, the BA, are in the right position, but they're angled differently, so it takes a little getting used to that. There is a kind of nook here in the back, so it does feel fairly well. The front here, which is interesting, is it's pretty loose. It will play other NES standard controllers because the adapter here will work. Obviously, with a zapper gun, it will not work on a modern TV. They do offer a light gun, a Sinden gun that's available. I do not have one of those to test, but I'm assuming that will work on games like Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley, etc. But other attachments may or may not work for this thing. Overall, I think it's an item for collectors who are interested in cataloging their collection. I do like the fact that you can save and dump the ROMs onto this unit, and then it's just one really easy. You don't have to take out your games again. I really like the menu with the information, screenshots of the game, and history of the game itself, and manufacturer, like how you can search by year and by publisher. That's really cool. They did a really good job with the menu layout. I will give them credit there. Price tag, really expensive. So this system is not for everyone, obviously. If you want to play games and have a bunch of games and ROMs available, this is not the one for you. I'm sure that people have figured out ways to hack this thing and load games on this. Not a problem. I'm sure it's easy to do. But if you better be better off purchasing like a Raspberry Pi. You can get at a fraction of the price. You can add SD cards come in. You can get gig micro mini SD cards now, and you can put a ton of games on there as well. So that's more convenient, a lot less expensive to do that way. If you're a collector, if you're looking to catalog your games, this might be a system you might be interested in. I'm not sure the long-term viability of the system, to be honest with you, because it's really hitting a niche market, in my opinion. I have a backstory about this product as well, going back 7-8 years. I talked about that story in my initial review of the Polymega, so if you haven't seen that, I encourage you to check it out. I will be doing upcoming video reviews over other attachments as well, because I do have the Super Nintendo One, Genesis, and TurboGrafx. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate you guys subscribing, leaving a comment, as always, for your support. We'll see you guys soon. Take care, and of course, game on.